Yeah, one of the things I've read about during these lockdowns over the past year or so is learning about narcissists or narcissistic behavior or similar types of manipulative behavior, which I didn't know much about. So I thought I'd make a video about it, see if anybody had a comment or suggestions. It's actually pretty hard to understand for people that aren't familiar with the behaviors, but I think is really enlightening. Actually, we have some troublemaking people in our family that we've had to deal with. And it was actually my mom that really learned a lot about personality disorders and psychology. But, when she talks about it, and she would always say like, "Oh, I can give you books to read." And I'm like, "Mom, I'm not reading any of your self-help books. I'm not reading your Dr. Phil voodoo, whatever books. So just tell me what the problem is. And I don't want to hear an hour-long spiel. Just explain what the problem is." So it's understandable why you could feel this way, but you can't really understand it within a couple minutes. So she kind of started playing some videos explaining the motivations and the psychology behind such individuals, which helped a lot, and I had to be like, "Oh, Mom, you're actually onto something here, this isn't one of your, just more of your BS, like self-help BS that doesn't make much sense." I'm like, "Yeah, you're actually onto something here." So she actually mailed me this book, and it doesn't have to be this book. I'm sure there's other interesting books. But this book was helpful to understand narcissistic behaviors, manipulative type behaviors. I don't think you need to be like a quote diagnosed narcissist for people to use manipulative behaviors, as far as I understand it. But you don't have to be a diagnosed narcissist to use the type of behaviors. In fact, everybody probably does at some point, right? Like, didn't you ever want something really bad? So you lied, or you faked something. I don't know. You fake being sick so you don't have to do something. You really want to eat at one restaurant rather than the restaurant that your friend wants to eat at. So instead of being flexible, you kind of manipulate your way into going to your restaurant. I think we've all done things like this. It's normal. But narcissists take it to a new level where they have this kind of fake facade of a personality, and anything that threatens that, their reality, they lash out at. There's different types of narcissists, but the ones that I've dealt with, they'll lie, and then you try to point, as most of us would identify as normal, reflective people. You point out the lie, and they just cover it up because that's their reality. Now, I'm a little confused. They know they're lying, but they kind of have to lie to feel comfortable, or they actually believe it. I'm not quite sure, but I think they believe it. They believe the lie so strongly it kind of becomes a part of their reality, and to recognize that it's not true is kind of threatening to them. So, for example, one person that I've dealt with that's a narcissist, they'll make excuses for some people, even when they've been taken for a ride, even though when it's clearly obvious that they've been manipulated, taken advantage of. They'll straight up lie about it or make excuses, or if they've been ripped off monetarily, they'll say, "Oh, well, it wasn't much." They'll downplay it. But on the other side, with other individuals that they use for abuse, they'll in any situation where something goes awry or something happens they don't like, they'll blame that person. So I'm a little perplexed as to why they'll get taken advantage of by some people, and then abuse others. So, but I think there's more than narcissism at play. I just think it's useful to understand the manipulative behaviors, the avoiding of reality, trying to understand it and how to deal with it. Because the person I've interacted with, like there's no way to change them. It's just futile. So the way I deal with it is not going along with their bullshit, not arguing, but not exposing myself too much. But it's something I'd like to learn more about. I read this book. I read, random internet articles, which are good, but internet articles about XYZ isn't always the best way to learn. So if anybody has an observation or a suggestion or wants to answer my questions that I'm curious about, other people might be curious about. I'm just curious about the motivations. Like, does narcissists know they're lying, or they can, but they, convince themselves that what they're saying is sort of true, or they're just covering up? Like, do they know they're covering up, or do they actually legitimately believe the lies they tell? I guess that's what I'm confused about. Or, do they have a motivation necessarily to hurt people, or do they do it unintentionally just because they're concerned about themselves? I think it depends on the situation, honestly. But I think understanding the phenomenon is helpful. And you see a lot of manipulative tactics just in public discourse, like playing the victim is a big one. There's this whole controversy about AOC being traumatized by the Capitol raid, and then other people are saying she's faking it. She's being the victim. I don't know the truth of what actually happened. I haven't really researched it, but these are the same type of manipulative tactics that you'll see in a family to a large degree. Somebody feels that they're wronged, and you bring that up to a person, and they'll say, like, oh, you're you're trying to shame me by bringing this up. That happened a year ago. It's kind of like this posturing as a victim and blaming somebody for their wrongs, but then they posture as a victim. And so if it's two people and you're not involved in this situation, it can be really difficult to tell the reality of what's going on. It's like doing a police investigation. So I think it's just helpful in life to understand these manipulative tactics, and how they're utilized, and how the truth is twisted, which makes it pretty difficult to find. But if anyone has any suggestions for further reading, feel free to post it, whether it's website, book, or there's a lot of know-it-alls on these YouTube videos, right? So instead of recommending a book, you can just post what you know. That always works. Anyway, everyone have a good day.